And then we set our sights on fortifying the very front line of our defense, sealing off the run lanes and tightening the barricade. It's a safety adjustment I refuse to compromise on. I don't want him drifting too far upfield while the chaos unfolds. It's wild. So many people I've met behind the scenes have come up to me saying, "My friend was watching you play, following every moment," as if the football world is somehow smaller than we ever imagined. Everyone sees everything. Now picture this. Your very first snap in the NFL. And suddenly, Sunday football isn't Sunday football anymore. It's the Shedeur Sanders show. One debut, and he's already turned Cleveland's turf into a primetime stage. TV execs practically had cartoon dollar signs flashing in their eyes. Ratings didn't just rise, they erupted like a soda can tossed into a bonfire. So, what did Shedeur pull off that sent the NFL into full-blown pandemonium? Buckle up. This ride's about to get ridiculous. Music, Shedeur Sanders, made his NFL debut for the Cleveland Browns, and to say he delivered would be an understatement. He went 14 for 23 for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was just through the air. He showed his legs too, scrambling for 19 yards, and picking up critical first downs. Sure, it's preseason, sure, it's early, but even with Panthers defenders charging full steam, he stood calm in the pocket, delivering strikes like he'd been here for years. If you're enjoying this, hit that subscribe button. It helps more than you think, because Shedeur Sanders didn't just debut for Cleveland. He walked in like the franchise was a dusty, forgotten attic and remodeled it into a luxury penthouse with skyline views. From his very first snap, you could feel it. The air snapped with energy. The dog pound roared like they'd been starved for years. Every throw dripped swagger. Every scramble looked ripped straight from a highlight reel. By halftime, it wasn't just admiration, it was conversion. The crowd didn't see a rookie. They saw their future. And somewhere between the second and third quarter, half of Cleveland was already online trying to snag a Shedeur Sanders jersey before they sold out. Last night, the most watched preseason game in NFL history. This wasn't a debut. It was a hostile takeover of the national broadcast. The kind of event that locks down living rooms, sports bars, and break rooms like a cultural hostage situation. Networks were glued to the real-time ratings like it was election night. Not a single viewer dared to change the channel. Everyone was waiting for the next moment. Shedeur would make a defender question his entire career choice. And every time the ball left his fingertips, it wasn't just a throw, it was a precision-engineered explosion. Equal parts art and demolition. For years, Cleveland's offense has moved like it was fueled by bland cereal and lukewarm milk. Then Shedeur showed up and dumped in an entire bag of sugar. Suddenly, routes snapped sharp. Timing clicked like clockwork, and receivers snatched the ball like their careers depended on it. Because with Shedeur delivering, they do. Drop one pass from him, and you might as well start polishing your resume before the post-game presser. And here's the best part. He wasn't just good. He was disrespectfully good. This wasn't a cautious rookie checking down to stay safe. He came to the line like the stadium's deed was in his back pocket, studied the defense like a kid picking the biggest bat for the piñata, and started swinging for destruction. Carolina's secondary, poor, unsuspecting souls. He carved them up so badly it should have come with a parental advisory warning. By the third quarter, you half expected the ref to wave it off like a boxing match before someone's confidence or career suffered permanent damage. And you know what? If Shedeur starts another preseason game, you might as well expect another record-breaking audience. I thought the game was in Cleveland. Turns out it's in Carolina. But honestly, it doesn't matter. That Browns fan base, they travel. And Charlotte is about to feel it. They'll flood that stadium. They'll have friends calling from all over the country. And by kickoff, that place will feel like a second home for Cleveland. From the opening drive, Shedeur Sanders didn't just announce himself, he detonated onto the NFL stage. First possession, a 40-yard sideline laser that made the cornerback look like he was starring in a slow-motion blooper reel. Second drive, a rolling bullet so perfectly placed that the defensive end stopped mid-chase just to comprehend what had happened. By halftime, Sanders had stacked up more passing yards than some veterans, scraped together over 3 joyless, soul-crushing games. Social media was already crowning the Browns as inevitable Super Bowl contenders. Imagine being in Cleveland's PR department, walking in expecting to post a safe, generic game day tweet, and suddenly your phone's melting from calls by ESPN, Fox Sports, and every sports blogger still living in their mom's basement. The stadium atmosphere, electric doesn't even come close. Fans were FaceTiming cousins, uncles, and ex-roommates just to brag that they were there when history happened. Nobody sat down, not just from excitement, but because they refused to miss a single snap blocked by some guy's oversized foam finger. Even the legendary beer lines disappeared, and if Shedeur Sanders is single-handedly tanking beer sales in Cleveland, you know you're watching a once-in-a-decade debut. But it wasn't just the stat sheet. It was the swagger, the control. For the first time in years, the Browns weren't simply playing football. They were staging a primetime spectacle that made even opposing fans forget to boo. What impressed me most was his composure. It wasn't just solid, it was cinematic. A rookie in his first NFL start is supposed to look rattled. Maybe rush a throw, stare down a target, or check down early to avoid disaster. Not Sanders. He approached the line of scrimmage with a half smirk, like he'd already read the ending of the script and was just letting everyone else play along. Every snap was a masterclass in control. The Panthers' defense, bless their hopeful little hearts, threw the whole playbook at him. Zone coverage, shredded. Man coverage, torched. Blitz packages that probably looked menacing on a whiteboard, reduced to dust. The defining moment came when Carolina sent 6 defenders screaming at him. Most rookies panic. Sanders simply sidestepped like he was avoiding a puddle, bought 2 extra seconds, and dropped a perfect 25-yard strike downfield, as casually as tossing car keys to a valet. The receiver didn't break stride, the crowd erupted, and somewhere on the Panthers' sideline, their defensive coordinator added 3 new wrinkles to his forehead. By the end, this wasn't just a debut, it was a flare gun warning fired into the NFL sky. If this is Sanders in Game 1, imagine the havoc he'll unleash after a full season of experience. Cleveland might have just found their franchise quarterback for the next decade, and the rest of the league might be staring down a nightmare they can't game plan away. Defenders are losing sleep. Coaches are rewriting strategies in a panic. Some front offices have probably called emergency meetings just to figure out how to slow down a rookie who plays with the poise of a 10-year veteran. And the hype? It wasn't just local. Viewership didn't climb. It exploded. People who couldn't tell a touchdown from a home run were glued to their TVs. Your grandma, the one who thinks a quarterback is where you keep spare change, now knows Shedeur Sanders' completion percentage. Neighbors who normally complain about loud TVs were screaming at the screen themselves. They were packed wall to wall like it was the Super Bowl. Except half the crowd weren't even Browns fans. They just didn't dare miss the next "did you see that" moment. Every big play detonated into a social media storm. Within seconds, clips, memes, slow motion edits, flooding every feed. You couldn't escape Shedeur Sanders if you tried. Yes, his arms sore. Why? Because he's been throwing before practice, after practice. More reps than most players log in a week. Some call it counterproductive, but there's clearly a method to the madness. He's tuning his arm like a finely crafted instrument, even if it means pushing through the ache. Every corner of the sports world lit up with the same headline: the rookie who might rewrite the NFL playbook. This wasn't just another Cleveland win. It was a declaration that the Browns' future had shifted overnight. Analysts and fans couldn't stop talking. Sanders wasn't just playing the game, he was owning it, with a swagger that felt fresh, electric, and dangerously contagious. His energy bled into every teammate. Receivers sprinted downfield like their cleats were on fire, making catches they would have missed a year ago. The offensive line transformed into an unbreakable wall, blocking with the ferocity of men guarding the last slice of pizza on Earth. The defense revitalized, hitting with purpose, playing like holding opponents under 20 wasn't a fantasy. It was the new baseline, like the whole franchise had caught fire, and the city could feel it. Strangers high-fiving in grocery aisles. Somebody out there probably named their newborn Shedeur that night. Even Cleveland traffic cops were smiling. And if you know Cleveland, you know that's nothing short of miraculous. And then came the play. Fourth quarter. Browns clinging to a 3-point lead. Panthers crowding the line, daring Cleveland to run or punt. The tension was thick enough to slice with a goalpost. Sanders took the snap, delivered the most convincing fake handoff of the night, sending half the defense charging in the wrong direction like slapstick extras. Then he rolled out, eyes downfield, and launched a deep ball that hung in the air just long enough for the entire stadium to hold its breath. Touchdown. Pandemonium. Viewership spiked into history-making territory. By the final whistle, Sanders' stat line read like it was ripped from a Madden cheat code. 300-plus passing yards, multiple touchdowns, 0 turnovers, and a passer rating high enough to make analytics nerds blush. Rookie. Number this was the work of a quarterback already playing at a Pro Bowl level. One game in, and Cleveland wasn't just the team you watch because it's Sunday. They were the show. And Sanders wasn't just the star. He was the writer, director, and executive producer. I said it before last college season. Shedeur Sanders should go number one overall. Greatness is in his DNA. Son of the greatest quarterback, and to me, the greatest athlete ever. I would have taken him over Cam Ward every time. He is him. The post-game scene felt less like a press conference and more like a coronation. Reporters failed to hide their excitement, throwing around phrases like the future of the league. Even veteran analysts sat wide-eyed, calling him a once-in-a-generation rookie. Social media spiraled into debates over whether his eventual statue should be cast in bronze or gold. And through it all, Sanders just smiled. That calm, knowing grin of a man fully aware he's only scratched the surface of his potential. The NFL has been starving for a rookie to command the field like this. Suddenly, every Browns game feels like must-watch primetime. Whether you bleed orange and brown or barely know the rules, Sanders makes you stop scrolling and tune in. Tonight in Carolina, Shedeur Sanders made 143 NFL decision-makers look like fools. Some petty, some biased, some simply blind. Every team that passed on him before Cleveland scooped him in the 5th round now wears that mistake like a scar. And the scariest part? This wasn't luck. This was preparation meeting opportunity, perfect reads, surgical adjustments, a huddle commanded with authority. The league is officially on notice. Sanders isn't a rookie sensation. He's a storm rolling across the NFL horizon. Cleveland's schedule now looks like a national TV showcase. Easy wins against the Browns. Those days are dead. Playoffs? People are already talking. Super Bowl? A few brave voices are whispering. And some fans are daring to say it. Sanders might be the most important thing to hit Cleveland sports since LeBron James. And after tonight, it doesn't sound so crazy. Cleveland isn't ready for the seismic shift unfolding right now. The bombshell that just detonated could completely redefine this franchise. And no, this isn't overhyped clickbait. One high-priced superstar may be counting down his final days in the dog pound, while an overlooked underdog is suddenly gaining serious traction, right where no one expected. And that's not all. There's a jaw-dropping 3-team trade scenario circulating that could shake 3 entire organizations to their core. This is insider-level high-stakes strategy, so strap in, dog pound. We're diving straight into the storm. For months, Deshaun Watson's name has been synonymous with uncertainty and frustration on the shores of Lake Erie. But today, that cloud of ambiguity erupted into a full-blown crisis. According to veteran insider Mary Kay Cabot, Watson has already played his last snap in a Browns uniform. That's right. Regardless of whether his Achilles heals, she says the chapter is closed. And if you follow Cleveland's beat, you know this prediction isn't coming out of thin air. Owner Jimmy Haslam already views that blockbuster trade and fully guaranteed $230 million deal as a catastrophic misfire. 3 first-round picks and a mountain of money for a quarterback who's played just 19 games in 3 seasons, without ever flashing that vintage Houston dominance. But the issue runs deeper than injury alone. If Watson remains sidelined, Cleveland can activate the insurance clause and reclaim vital cap space. But if doctors clear him and he claims he's ready, everything changes. That's where the politics begin. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk laid it out. If Watson is medically cleared and the Browns refuse to activate him, he can file a grievance. He could argue that he's fit to play and the franchise is deliberately benching him. That would force Cleveland's hand. Either roster him, trade him, or cut him outright and swallow the most expensive pill in franchise history. Just imagine the scene. Kevin Stefanski trying to construct a cohesive offense around Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and 2 hungry rookies, all while Deshaun Watson reappears at camp with a vengeance. Do you stick with the process, or roll the dice on a quarterback who's never delivered on his sky-high expectations in Cleveland? The fan base has already erupted. Half the dog pound has declared the Watson era dead, and that his contract is an immovable anchor. The other half still believes he could rise from the ashes and silence the critics once and for all. Either way, the locker room is feeling the weight. Deontay Johnson's recent comment about Pickett wasn't casual. He publicly dubbed Kenny the frontrunner and emphasized the current practice hierarchy. Pickett with the ones, Flacco behind him. That says a lot about the coaching staff's mindset. They're prepping for a new QB era. Still, even if Pickett or Flacco leads the huddle, Watson's shadow looms. That monstrous contract, the household name, warming the bench, fuel for media frenzy, and a locker room nearing its limit. The cruel irony? If Watson proves he's healthy, Cleveland loses the insurance cash, wrecks its salary cap, and still has to decide, play him, trade him, or release him. It's a lose-lose labyrinth. How did we get here? A team that once looked primed to ascend is now trapped in a contractual soap opera with no guarantees. Meanwhile, Pickett keeps grinding, Flacco stays composed, Jeter Sanders and Dylan Gabriel immerse themselves in the playbook, and Watson silently watches, perhaps ready to make one final power move. And if you thought that was today's biggest headline, brace yourself. A wild 3-team trade proposal just hit the internet, and it's got real traction. Bleacher Report's Brent Sobleski proposed a hypothetical blockbuster featuring Jalen Ramsey, one of the decade's elite cornerbacks. And surprisingly, it actually makes sense. Here's the structure. Cleveland sends Greg Newsome II to the Bears. The Browns receive left tackle Braxton Jones from Chicago. Cleveland isn't ready for this. Not even close. The seismic shock that just erupted could tilt the entire franchise on its axis. And no, this isn't an exaggeration. One megastar on a monster deal might be staring down his final days in orange and brown, while a dark horse nobody took seriously is suddenly charging up the depth chart from the shadows. And just wait, there's more. A wild 3-team trade proposal is circulating behind the scenes. The kind of deal that could upend 3 front offices overnight. This isn't rumor mill fluff. This is calculated, high-stakes maneuvering. So strap in, dog pound. We're diving straight into the fire. In 2023, we in Cleveland embarked on an unexpected magic carpet ride with Joe Flacco. He joined the roster in late November, right in the thick of a fierce playoff chase, and what he delivered was nothing short of a cinematic. Instant 300-yard games. 4 wins and 5 starts.